It is my pleasure to welcome you to our Fireside Chat series, The Business of Retail. I'm Dr. Reginald King. I'm the chair of the Business and Entrepreneurship Department here at Prince George's Community College. We are delighted to host today at our Inno Hub, our Business Innovation Hub, for this special event. Today's conversation explores what it takes to lead in an innovative and sustaining successful business. We have two leaders here that I am so delighted to have both of them here. I would like to welcome Marcus Stevens, Executive Creative Director at Plank Industries and designer of the iconic Under Armour logo. Let's give him a hand.
Thank you.
I'd also like to welcome Stephen Quander, District Director with Nike and author of Lessons in Leadership series. Let's give him a hand. Now, I want to get right into it. Instead of reading their bios, I'm going to have Dr. Yorkshire, Kathy Yorkshire. She would be our moderator for today. She has been with our business department since 2001. So, and again, she is excellent at doing this. She's been doing this now going on 2 years. I was able to rope her in and I never let the rope come off. So again, students, this is open to you. I want you to take in the information. They're here for you. So there's going to be a section where she asks questions, and there's going to be a section where you get the opportunity to ask questions. Again, you're a business student. You represent here. You never know where this is going to take you. So I want you to be alert, know that this is for you. So Dr. Yorkshire, I turn it over into your hands.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Dr. King. Can we give all of you a hand for being here? And can we give our guests another round of applause for being here? Thank you both, thank you. All right, so let's get started. Okay, can you start, Marcus, by telling us just maybe in 60 seconds or so, your journey from then to now, and then we're going to drill in to some more specific questions in a little bit, and then if you could follow.
My journey that led to Under Armour, or from Under Armour to now? I mean, I think that I'll try to do it both in a minute 30. How about that?
Okay.
Can I get 90
Okay.
seconds?
Sure.
All right. So I was born in Western Maryland. I was born in the 70s, and there was a brand that was kind of launched in the late 70s. They came out with this thing called a Cortez Classic, and it turned my neighborhood in Western Maryland into the Olympics. Every kid was faster. Every kid was cooler, and so I understood the power of brand as a child. We moved to Prince George's County. We moved to New Carrollton here when I was in second grade. So I grew up right down 495 in New Carrollton, Riverdale Road, Annapolis Road. And I was a mediocre athlete and a pretty decent artist. Turned that into, went to Frostburg State University, another Maryland school. They didn't have an advertising curriculum, so I made my own curriculum. In the 80s, advertising was big. You had, every sitcom was about an advertising executive. So I see this mix of marketing and hospitality is kind of reflective of the workforce of today. Everything's experiential, so I'm excited by that. I did graphic design and marketing at Frostburg, came out, got a job in Georgetown, started my own firm quickly and landed some Nike work. I wanted to work at Nike my whole life. They wouldn't hire me. They kept telling me that my drawings were cute and, try again. And I landed Nike as a client from my firm. I got there, they had opened Nike Town stores, and I landed the opportunity to do their crisis management handbooks. So it wasn't an advertising campaign or a shoe design. It was what happens when a tornado hits your store for managers. But I put out a press release and said that Bethesda firm lands Nike work. there was a young entrepreneur in Montgomery County named Kevin Plank who had an idea for a brand called Under Armour. He read the press release that a Bethesda firm had landed Nike work and reached out to us to help him build his brand. And so I helped him with the brand, and heat gear when it's hot, cold gear when it's cold was part of our first meeting. And 30 years later now, we're a competitor to the brand that I wanted to work at. So that's kind of my story in 90 seconds.
All right, so I'll take 90 seconds as well. But I was also born and raised here in Prince George's County. I went to every school that you could think of. I graduated from Duval High School, right down the way. I did dual enrollment here at PGCC, as many of you in the room, so I was very happy to see all of your faces. Early on in life, I took an interest in being in charge. At Duval, I was in junior ROTC. By the time I graduated from junior ROTC, I was what you would call the corps commander. So I was in charge of the 500 some odd students in the school. What I quickly realized at that time was every organization needs a leader. Whether it be a nonprofit, whether it be a hotel, whether it be a church, somebody has to be in charge. So from that point on, I started to look at leadership as a trade. As I went forward in my career, educationally, I went to the University of Maryland. At the University of Maryland, I studied business at the R.H. Smith School of Business. There, I got my degree in business management and marketing, and I also started my retail journey. I started in the stores. I was a commissioned salesperson. I sold fitness equipment. So if you came into this store called Sears, which I don't know if y'all know.
Sears and Roebuck.
Yeah, the store called Sears, you might have to pick up your Google machine, look it up. You know what I'm saying? It was started back in the 1900s before a lot of y'all were born. I started there as a commissioned salesperson, and what that did was that taught me the business from the ground up. Back then, we did a lot more. We actually did ordering of our merchandise. We helped with the brand plans. We did allocation. So you learned the backside of the business, which helped me kind of propel myself into today, where I now am a district director at Nike.
Wow. Thank you. Very impressive. Woo. Okay. And this question is for both of you. Okay. You've both built impactful careers outside the traditional retail sales role. What are some lesser known career paths within the retail industry that today's students or young professionals should explore?
So, I'll jump in. Yeah. But what I'll say is a lot of times people just see the forward-facing careers, right? They say, okay, you work in a retail store, you're either a cashier or a stock person or XYZ. There's an entire organization behind that, from marketing to allocations to logistics to crisis management, human resources. So anything that you would see at a government organization, you would see in a retail organization. The key is to actually get your foot in the door. A lot of times, the entryway to the organization is through the store. Right now in my role, I'm kind of the bridge between the store and headquarters. I'm technically not a store employee. I work for headquarters, but I bridge the gap between the two. So I play in that middle space, and what I do is I try to direct my team in that same avenue, because a lot of them have aspirations to do things outside of the store. But again, you got to get in first.
Yeah. No. And even if you just drill down into what you think of traditional retail, that's evolving faster than you can define it, right? It went from Sears and Roebuck, which was a catalog store where you ordered from a 200-page catalog.
Merry Christmas.
Then we went to super malls, and now everybody here has Amazon Prime, I'm sure. So there's a lot of e-commerce. So for me, I think, and Under Armour specifically as well, we look a lot at direct to consumer. We were a direct-to-consumer brand before we were in retail. We were selling, through a catalog, a lot like Sears and Roebuck first. And when we got into retail, we made the deal with our retailers that we could still sell direct. And so now every brand sells direct as well as with a retail store. But Under Armour, we put a lot of attention onto direct-to-consumer. So I think it's interesting that there's a great mix of marketing and hospitality here, because I think affiliate marketing and like social media sales and those type of things are going to be the future of retail beyond the retail floor. It's going to be person to person kind of affiliate sales. So the fact that hospitality is in the background of everybody's expertise here, I think is going to be important as a retailer going forward. Experiential, I think connecting with people through experience is going to be just as important as having a great store or a great retail presence.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and can we break that down a little bit? Connecting with people and their experiences. I know, I believe in our generation, right? As we were growing up, I know I was taught early on to speak, to, say thank you, just the basic communication, right? And so I know I'm not the only one. When I go into a store or even make a phone call, it's not the best one-on-one experience. Can you talk a bit about why that's so important, the experience of a consumer?
So what I teach and what I tell my team is we actually don't sell a product, we sell an experience. Mm-hmm. So I run all the stores in Maryland, DC, Delaware, and Pennsylvania. You can get Nike at several different outlets. You can also get it online. There's no specific reason for people to come to the store other than the folks that work in the store. The experience, the feeling that they give them. And the only way you can kind of create a feeling is to actually interact with people. We all have a story to tell. Our story is important. Our story is important to someone else who may be going through something similar. So in connecting with people and sharing those things, you then open up a doorway, right, to sell the product. But really what you're selling is that feeling, that connection. There are people that go to certain Nike stores because they know that's Stephen's store. All right, if I go into Stephen's store, this is the level of service that I'm going to get. My employees, they know also that, people I know go in the store, so somebody might call me, be like, hey, I had a good experience or a bad experience. But nonetheless, that experience is so important. And I think in the climate that we live now, you want your digital presence to match your actual presence. A lot of us are one person online, and then when we meet that person, we're like, hey man, you done stumbled over that word. You're not making eye contact. You're not doing those things. So you want to make sure the two things match at all times.
I think we spent years. I think knowing your brand is emotive, right? And there's an aesthetic part to it, and retail, and there's a storytelling part to it, is sure. And Nike, owns retail. They've got it down to a science. So we spent years trying to out Nike at retail, and we're not going to get better than LeBron. We're not going to sign a bigger athlete. We're not going to do that, right? So we had to find our own space and how we connect with consumers. And so Under Armour spends a lot of attention on our All-Star games, UA Next, UA All-Star platform, Project Rampart, making sure that all the high schools in the area are fitted in Under Armour head to toe. So if we can stay relevant to that cool kid in high school and we can keep connection with them, we think that we can keep the brand connected to sport, right? So we in retail, they do an incredible job, and we spend a lot of money trying to keep pace with them, and we realized that was a losing battle, and that our real connection, it was partly hospitality, partly marketing, and throwing great events to connect with these consumers. So.
What principles of branding do you believe remain timeless? And how can emerging creatives build brands that truly connect with people? Wow.
One of the most recognizable logos in the world.
Yes.
That's wow. I got to soak that in for a second. I think aesthetic matters, one of the first things I said to Kevin Plank was, our first logo was a knight man behind a shield, like this little Atlas guy. And I told him, I was like, British Knights did this. I was like, they didn't work. You're competing with a swoosh. And I think that was the first time Kevin heard that Nike was the competition. And I think aesthetic matters, but what's more important about brand is is a connection, is the emotive piece, is authenticity. And so Under Armour did a really good job. We did a really good job and realized early that we could connect to the athlete, not even the athlete, the competitor in everyone. There's a competitor in everyone, and that was our space. And so while our brand is clean and it looks good and it's something that people are willing to wear, it's the emotive piece that I think that I want people to think about, is that you're making a promise to people, and we're promising that we're going to make you a stronger competitor. And so that promise and the brand promise is more important than the aesthetic. And I think that a lot of marketers and a lot of brand builders forget that, and they think purely about the aesthetic and the packaging and forget about the promise.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Stephen, at Nike, culture and leadership are key drivers to success. How do you intentionally build and sustain a culture of innovation and accountability within large, diverse teams?
So the key to that for me is starting with the end in mind, right? A lot of times we try to plan things out, not knowing where we actually want to end. So I kind of plan my year out, much like a teacher or a professor. I start with, hey, this is where the company said we want to end the year at. And then I branch out from there. My particular leaders, sometimes they laugh at me because I put together what you call a curriculum, right? Each month has a theme. All of those themes align with the final year's goal. And then inside of those months, of course, there's your weekly goals. I spend a lot of time focusing on my leaders' abilities to make decisions, not necessarily processes. Processes are pretty easy, right? They're on a paper, you can read them. Regardless of what level in the business you're at, you can read the process. You'll pretty much do the process the same. Where it gets tricky is when you're leading people and you're left to make a decision. That's when it gets tricky. So I spend the majority of my time focusing on, what does your decision-making ability look like? And can I trust you in that space? I have approximately 650 employees. I can't see them all. They're in multiple states. Right now, they're working. I'm here. So I have to trust that they're able to make the best decision in my absence. So again, I just focus on building that part, kind of in a classroom curriculum style. Each week has a theme. We listen to different podcasts on leadership development topics, and I just push it forward that way. That creates kind of a culture of learning and development.
Okay, thank you. So far, you both have shared quite a bit of your experiences, your knowledge, and how you've gotten where you are today.
Yeah.
As a way to encourage our younger folks in the room who may feel like, they're moving slow in their college career or their professional career, and they just get a little discouraged with trying and maybe getting no's and all of that. Could you just share one experience that you've had during your journey that may have not worked, quote unquote, in your favor, but you were resilient and moved on and up?
Yeah, I'll go first. This is kind of two-part. There was two things that were pivotal moments in the Under Armour brand, especially in my career. One was, I think it was 2007, it was probably 10, we did a Super Bowl commercial. And the only reason we went after the Super Bowl commercial, it wasn't any business metrics. There wasn't any KPI or ROI that we had proven that it was going to do. The only reason we did it was ego, was because all of the executives grew up in the 80s and 90s, and we loved Super Bowl commercials, and we had an opportunity to do one ourselves and did it. And it was a critical failure. We spent a lot of money. It didn't move the needle for the brand at all, and it was just a pure ego play. So I think, learning from that, we learned that leadership can make mistakes. We have egos as well, and to not behold to things that are just going to make us feel good, but really listen to our consumer and do things that are going to move the brand forward. We made the same mistake with retail stores. I'll elaborate on that later, but go ahead.
So for me, it's a twofold. One, One was more personal, and then one was more in the business lanes. From a business side, again, being in store operations, we get to influence a lot of decisions. Might not necessarily get to make them, but we get to influence them. When we were opening up our new stores post-pandemic, I had a lot of input into where we were going to put the stores, right? There was a couple of locations that I wished I would have went into, and there's a couple locations that I wish
There was one we were fighting over.
that I wish we wouldn't have went into. One of the locations that I did pick ended up closing, right? And again, you put a lot of money into a store in the front end. You got to sign leases. There's lease agreements on the back end. You got to spend all the money to open it up. You got to do all these particular things. And it was a lot of weight on that decision. Now, that was the first store that I picked. And I still had 4 more to do. So being that one didn't turn out the way I wanted it to, it could have been a disaster, right? But in each quote unquote failure, there's a lesson, right? And again, all of us who are sitting here, we've kind of failed our way to this position, right? The key is just not making the same mistake twice.
Learning from it.
You know, you're gonna make a mistake, but just don't make the same one over and over again, and you'll be fine. On the personal side, for me, when my career was really picking up at Nike and things were looking really amazing, my wife and I, we lost our son, Christopher, to pediatric cancer, to brain cancer. So that kind of took all the wind out of my sails, and I had to kind of step away from the business. But what that taught me was some resiliency, right? Looking at his journey, he had 4 great years on the earth. And what I gleaned from those 4 years, especially in his last 6 months, was that he wasn't sad at all, right? He only knew that tomorrow was in front of him and not to waste any time. Whether it was eating spaghetti or eating crunchy bacon, as he would call it, playing with Spider-Man toys, he just knew that each day was in front of him. So I had to take that, and that's kind of shaped how I lead going forward.
Ooh, wasn't ready, y'all. Wasn't ready. Well, thank you for sharing that story. Those stories of resilience, and it just reminds us how having, and I will say the right perspective, right, it means a lot. All right, both of you operate at the intersection of creativity and business strategy. How do you balance creative freedom with the need to meet business goals and performance metrics?
This one took me a while to learn. As a creative director, I didn't have a balance. I was over budget every time. I just wanted to do the best creative and have the most impact. So it took me a while to balance that. But at the end of the day, the KPIs or the business objectives must be met. Like they have to be met. The way you meet them is where you can innovate, right? And with the way that business is changing and evolving today, with the emergence of technology, the way that you did it last season probably isn't even going to work this season. You have to have your finger on the pulse of a new way and a new way to communicate with the consumers. So the business objectives have to be met, but you have to be creative, flexible, and fearless a bit, on how you execute against them to hit those goals. And so I say create fearlessly. Yeah.
Thank you.
I actually came quite the opposite, right? I started really big in the KPIs because again, like when you work on commission, if you don't sell, you don't eat. Mm-hmm. So you really worried about your KPIs and hitting those numbers and making sure that you are at the top of each metric goal. For me, I got into my creativity later in my career in becoming a author and being able to map out strategies to help aspiring leaders to essentially take all of the knowledge institutional knowledge that you've gained and put it into a format that's digestible. So like now I write books, I have audio book, I post on social media, I have a coaching business. Like that allows me to push the boundaries of leadership and be in a more creative space that way.
I think it's interesting that we both came from different spaces. So if you're rigid, business is inevitably going to make you become creative. And if you're creative, business is inevitably going to make you more rigid around, finance and responsibility. Like right now, I run a branding firm and I have a handful of clients that have individual budgets that, I have to be very responsible to what the promises are, what the deliverables are, and what the profit margin possibly could be. So it's funny. I never really thought about coming from two different directions and ending up in the same space.
Yes, thank you. Marcus, your Protect This House campaign became a cultural phenomenon. Why is storytelling so powerful in retail and brand building? And how can future leaders use storytelling to influence behavior? I think we touched on it a little bit, but you may have more to add.
A little bit, yeah. This was actually one that was unexpected a little bit. Somewhat expected, but not the way that it has turned out. Protect This House, we thought Protect This House was rooted in post 9/11 pro-American sentiment, if you think about the timing of it. Protect This House, we had just come through a tragedy as a nation, and there was a pro-American sentiment. So we mixed that pro-American sentiment with Prince George's County energy from the football fields of Prince George's County, and you come up with Protect This House. So we knew that it was a rallying cry that would work. But what I didn't know was it was actually meant to be an answer to just do it. The real line is, will you protect this house? I will, I will. And the I will was supposed to, we thought we sang the I will, I will, I will. We thought we'd have kids across the country singing I will back to their parents. We did not expect that they would start yelling, protect this house at their parents. That was the call. We thought the response was going to be the sticky part. And the call became the real piece. So we had a formula for storytelling. We were paying attention to what was going on in American culture. We knew the opportunity that we were taking. We knew that there was going to be, we were the underdog, and that, we had this chip on our shoulder. We knew that authenticity was an opportunity for us to tell stories that Nike and other people weren't telling. So we took that opportunity, but we miscalculated on the tagline. We did think that it would be I will. Because I will is a promise you make yourself, where just do it is something that a coach tells you. It's a demand where the coach is saying, just do it, shut up and do it. And we were trying to internalize that and make it where it's a self-promise. I will. And that it failed forward. It didn't become I will, but Protect This House worked just fine. Yeah. So there you go.
Perspective,
right?
That's it.
So
yeah.
Storytelling, we wanted to tell a story that people would resonate with. We just didn't predict the outcome exact. It wasn't a choose your own adventure story. We didn't choose the adventure exactly how it turned out. So.
Thank you. Stephen, you emphasize purpose-driven leadership in your Lessons in Leadership series. How does purpose influence decision-making and performance in a fast-paced retail environment?
So that is actually a really good question. And I'll harken back to what I said earlier about beginning with the end in mind, right? But there's also a part of what's your why? Why do you get up and do what you do? Sometimes we start out with a very superficial why. It's like, all right, I just want to get this money. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I got to pay these bills. I got things to do. But as you get further along in your career, that becomes less and less the motivation, right? You're going to get all the stuff that you ever want in life. You're going to have the multiple cars. You're going to have all those great things. That's not necessarily going to get you out of bed. What we talk about kind of in my world is you have your work, and then you have your soul work. Mm-hmm. Now, your soul work is something that fills you up and energizes you. So for me, in this leadership space, it's actually you guys, right? When I have new leaders come in to my space, watching them grow and transform, being able to impart them with some knowledge. Those are the things that fill me up at this particular junction in my career. You get the stuff, you get the houses, you get the cars, you have all those things. You get the pay raise, but after a while, the pay raise is the pay raise, and inflation. It is what it is. So it doesn't really make a big difference. But figuring out what your why is and really focusing in on what that does for you is what will help you create longevity in your journey. That'll help you stay the course.
Thank you. Retail is evolving rapidly with technology and shifting consumer expectations. What innovations or trends do you think will most impact the retail industry over, let's say, the next 5 years? And this question is for both of you.
So here's what I think. We're going to see a shift. Technology is great, but we're going to see a shift in the opposite direction. I think we're going to see people wanting to have more of a personal connection. Regardless of how good we get at technology, you still have to see something, feel it, and put it on, right?
Agreed.
There will always be a space and place for a physical location. There's also people hungering for actual connection. And the folks that are really good at creating those connections will be the ones that will push retail forward and grow it. I think we'll start to see that. I think we're actually already starting to see that shift.
I agree wholeheartedly. I think that I spoke about it earlier, direct to consumer. I think that you're going to see an extension of affiliate sales. I think that this room is the future. I think that every brand talks about getting closer to the consumer, and I think that it's going to be through their colleagues, their constituents, and their circle of friends that you get closer to them. So I think it's customization and regionalization through affiliate marketing, where people still can try on things, touch things. My daughter yesterday didn't buy a pair of your sweatpants because it was online and she couldn't try them on. So I think if there was somebody in the neighborhood or somebody that she knew that could give her some advice on how that fits, I think that's where this next generation of marketers comes in, is getting closer to the consumer for the brands. I see it every day. We're leaning on younger, more connected affiliate marketers every day to tell us where we're missing and how we can connect with our consumer better. And so I just think that brands will start to activate that and actualize that and put more dollars behind that going forward.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing. And you mentioned customization in it, and the example with your daughter. It made me think about how on some of the cosmetic-related websites, the Sephoras, the Ultas, and the like, we can go in there and just answer some questions, and a shade of foundation will pop up, or blush that will pop up to tell us what works. And I'm looking at that like, no, I gotta be in the store. I gotta swatch it on my actual skin.
What about the Mary Kay lady? What about the Mary Kay pink Cadillac pulling up with insights, with AI insights of what you want, right? I think that's what we're driving towards. I think it's a mix of Sears and Roebuck with their catalog, and you coming to the house with the equipment and setting it up for me. So I think that's what we're heading towards, and that's the way that brands are going to get closer to consumer beyond the technology that leaves some gaps.
Yes, I agree. Well, that concludes my questions. Can we give them another hand? Now we're going to open it up for you all. So who would like to ask the first question? Please come up to the microphone.
I just want to ask, what are some important skills that I can, build on myself now to become successful in something like what y'all doing?
I think you're off to a great start. I think confidence, believing in yourself, believing in your ideas, and being able to articulate your ideas is the beginning of a conversation that's going to move forward. So I think you're already off to a great start. Just about being the first person to come up here and ask a question already says you're on the right path. So I think confidence is the key.
Yeah, I was actually going to say the same thing. Being a self-starter, right? Raising your hand first usually gets you the opportunity. When you're in a room with a lot of people, that's what sets most people apart. Who makes the first move? If you wait for the opportunity to come to you, a lot of times somebody else will jump in front of it. So great right there doing that. And then I would say public speaking, right? Look, I got kids that might be close to y'all age, unfortunately.
I have kids older than you. I have kids older than you right now.
And what I tell them all the time is being able to speak in front of a room, me being able to speak in front of a room is what gets them all their nice things. That's just what it is. The higher you go, the larger the audience you have to speak in front of. We just did in-store meetings, right? One particular store is 200 people. So I got to be ready to get up and talk in front of 200 people. No script, no nothing, whatever you got going on. But being able to speak in public is what pays the bills.
Thank you.
All right, next.
My question is, what are like daily habits that you got to unlearn to achieve success?
That's a great question.
Unlearn.
I'm an artist. I'm a procrastinator. Like I think I watch a lot of TikToks. I think I'm ADHD maybe, or some of that. Maybe a little bit with there's something there. Like I don't get going until I have to get going, and so I've had to tell myself that now is the time. In my past, I was a procrastinator. I'd always put it off to the last second and try to do my best. I think it was coming up in talented and gifted kind of school situations. They kind of teach you to do it at the last second. And I just had to detrain that. I had to be more prepared. I had to be prepared ahead of the game. And that was something that was different from me. I was always a guy who showed up to the test and took it, just off of my knowledge. And now I had to come in prepared and studied and ahead of the game. So that was something that was different for me.
Yeah. For me, I had to actually, I guess, learn. Not really unlearn, but learn to be more spontaneous. I like a lot of data. I also am very regimented in how I do stuff. Right? People they be like, man, we can tell time off what you doing at that specific time. The same thing all the time, over and over again, and it's worked for me. However, in certain situations, I had to learn where all right, I just gotta go. My audio book, right? I put it out. It ain't perfect. But if I would have waited for it to be perfect, I never would have put it out. I would have been in the lab for like 10 years, just tinkering with it. By the time it went out, nobody would know what I was talking about.
Yeah. If we don't let perfection get in the way of progress. And so we say it all the time, right? So really, for me, it was like the time is now. And hearing some of your stories, I think that's something that I had to, over the course of my career, like really start to put forward in my approach, is that do it now. There is no later. Get it done now if you can. Yeah.
I had a question. I know you said in your early career, you were denied a few times.
Yeah.
I know especially when you're younger, it can be a little hard to get denied and try to keep motivation and keep going. So what are like some tips, or like how do you stay motivated even when you're like facing that judgment or like being denied pretty much?
I've always been somewhat of a confident kid. I've always thought that there was something, that I had something special in my future. So when I was denied, I was just like that I felt like they missed their opportunity. I felt like it was their loss at a point in time. So I don't know if that's delusional or what that is. That might be a little delulu, but I don't know. But I've always felt like that. And then there was I was going to end with this, but there's a saying that we've always had, and Under Armour was it was a brand of athletes, so we weren't English majors, so a lot of our vernacular wasn't grammatically correct, but it made some good points. And there was a thing that we always said was, we were smart enough to be naive enough to not know what we couldn't accomplish, and I think that that's it. So there's a hubris there. There's a little bit of arrogance there. We were smart enough to be naive enough to not know what we couldn't accomplish. We didn't know that Nike was a gorilla. We didn't know that they could smash us at any time. So we were. There was a little bit of hubris, but it was also a confidence in ourselves that we were smart enough to be naive enough to not know what we couldn't accomplish. Yeah.
So, like I said, I started my career in commission sales, right? And one of the a lady named Rita Mathor, she was like my first trainer. And the thing that she told me my second day on the job, she said that no is just in the way of a yes. So every time somebody tells you no, that was just in the way of the next yes. So for me, when somebody tells me no, it's like, all right, cool. There's gonna be a yes behind this one. Again, I was also trained in commission sales. You gotta take 3 no's. So after you take 3 no's, 8 hours a day for a week, after a while, they don't really affect you. You're just like, all right. And eventually you do get to that yes, right? So it's like, oh man, well, 10 people told me no, but that feeling you get when somebody tell you yes, it'll carry you through.
Yeah. I would say believe in ourselves and in our product, in our story. We believed in it. We believed in the product that we were selling, and we kind of were like, if you don't believe in it, shame on you. Like, so the next person will. So there's a yes behind it, yeah.
Thank you. My question is, I know you talked about how you look for problem solving skills in your employees, but like, I just want to know, how often do you guys face like the situation where you have to make a hard decision?
For me, it's every day. I've actually been having a crazy week. And again, a lot of the decisions I make now affect people's livelihoods, right? So I don't take those lightly. I'm making decisions that determine whether you are going to be working tomorrow or not working tomorrow. So for me, it's really taking time to think about what it is I'm gonna do before I do it, and then also being empathetic, which is something I had to learn over the course of my career. Like when I first started out, I was, whatever, you messed up, bro, that's your fault. But as I get further down the line, I learned that, all right, let's really take a second to look at this. Why did this mistake happen? What's going on? And a lot of times in this particular business, there's not too many mistakes you can't come back from.
Agreed.
There are a few, but there's not too many that you can't come back from. So I think it's really taking all of those things into account. What was the person's intent as opposed to what was their impact?
Team building is real. It's not just a buzzword. I mean, and when you're doing it, it's the character of the person matters more than the actual skills. A lot of times, the skills can be taught. The character is hard to change. So we really think about team building. And again, we're full of cliches that are all over our walls. And one is, you just stay humble, be hungry, and that's the type of people we're looking for. Is humble and hungry is what we're always looking for. And if you start there, you can usually build the skills.
Thank you.
My question was for you, because you was talking about how you was in graphic design and the creation of the logo.
Yes.
What is like the start of your process to like coming up with ideas and like bringing it to your business?
Do something cool is kind of where the start of it. Let's make something that people like. He had a logo. When I met Kevin, he had the name Under Armour. He was in love with the name Under Armour because he had the 1-800 number, 1-877-4-ARMOR with the ARMOUR to make the numbers work. He loved that. And he had a logo. He had this little knight guy, this little Atlas guy with a shield. And there was a U and an A in the corner of the shield. It was like a family crest on the shield, and there was like a little U and an A collided on the shield. And it was really just, like you said, being able to communicate in the moment. I was just taking the information that was presented to me and saying, this little piece in the corner of the shield is cooler than your whole logo. Like, let's start with this little UA, right? You're competing against a swoosh. This is iconic. This little muscle jack man is not iconic. And so it's just about being honest and connected. I was a student athlete. I was an athlete myself, and I wouldn't want to wear little muscle man. I would much rather wear something that looked like that UA. And so we pulled that off the shield and started working with that. And honestly, so I took the UA and I put it inside of a football first. And so if you look at the UA, it's actually in the shape of a football. And then I got a call from Georgia Tech, and they were like, hey, we saw the football team wearing those tight shirts. Do you make them for baseball? So I highlighted the football, said delete, and said, yeah. And we had a new logo at that moment.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You were talking about the logo and how you simplified it.
Yeah.
Why do you think having a simple and clean logo is important in 2025?
Yeah. One, recognizability, being able to recognize it upside down, sideways, especially in sports, it's never going to be presented exactly the way you want it to be. So complicated logos get kind of lost. And I think that just there's an impact to simplicity, that when things are more simple, they seem more thoughtful. And I think there's a light bulb that goes off. And once you get the light bulb that's a U and an A collided inside of a football, you tell the next person, and now you're an advocate for our brand. So I think that's difficult to do with a really intricate design. I think it's easier to do with a simple design. So that was really it. The storytelling, it's more powerful storytelling when it's simple.
Thank you.
Yeah.
How you doing? My name is Curtis Valentine, and my question was, how does Nike and Under Armour keep up with the latest trends and new ideas in sportswear?
So so for us, how we keep up with it is essentially kind of what you talked about earlier. We have a lot of affiliates. We keep our eyes on certain influencers. We make partnerships with the youth of today. Essentially, we watch you guys. Y'all fickle though, man.
Yeah, I mean, you're wearing it right now. Nike has the ability to create it, right? Like, so they also can create cool, right? Like when they decided that sweatsuit was going to be the icon for urban living, they decided it 4 years ago, and last year you saw it happen, right? So they can create cool too. And so they do have great trend analysis, but it's 3-4 years ahead of what you see in market.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great questions. Who's next?
My question is, being competitors, do y'all still wear one another's brands?
I do not.
So I've said that Under Armour wouldn't exist if it wasn't for my love of Nike, right? Like I grew up on Nikes, and it was inspired a lot by it into the brand. I was contractually bound. I was contractually obligated to only wear Under Armour for my time as an executive there. Since that contract has elapsed, there may or may not be a pair of Jordans.
So for me, it's I grew up a Nike kid and a Nike athlete, so I've never had to switch. Like this is my brand, I love it. All my core childhood memories kind of go along with it. So I really don't wear anything else. Why would I have to?
I have to go to more like obscure brands now. I have to wear crazy stuff because in public, I'm the Under Armour guy, and I can, So.
Okay, thank you.
All right, who's next? Great question.
Hello, my name is Joshua. I just had one question. How is adaptability crucial to your business, and how is changing one idea to another, and how does it fluctuate? Like, what is the importance of adaptability?
Man.
I'll go first. I mean, you want to be as adaptable and as fluid as possible. We understand that the consumer market is fickle, and there's a lot of different audiences out there. You want to be true to an audience and understand what their needs are. But again, you have 18 to 24 month timelines. So, I mean, you want to be as adaptable as possible. And a lot of that ends up in experiential marketing and less the product line with the events that you do, showing that you have your finger on the pulse. Because the product line is a little bit baked, on the timeline. That's the way we approach it, is try to be more flexible with our programming and our events, knowing that the product is more rigid.
And in business and also just in personal life, like you have to embrace change. You have to be able to adapt. What you thought was going to happen tomorrow might not necessarily happen. And if it does, what are you going to do? Are you going to sit there and sulk about it and be like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. Why did they do this? Or are you going to accept, okay, this particular thing has changed. All right, where do I go from there?
Yeah.
And that's where, being adaptable and embracing change really comes in. Don't pigeonhole yourself with like, oh, it has to be this one way. Because more often than not, it's not going to be that way.
Agreed. I mean, I've seen just over the course of the last 10 years, quarterly business reviews have changed from the executives telling the rest of the team, this is what we're going to do, this is what the quarter is going to look like, we have a plan, you're going to follow, here's a handbook, follow this plan, to now they come in there like, what's cool, what's going on out there, tell us what we're doing, what do we need to know, So like you've seen leadership become much more open to adaptability, understanding that the consumer's moving. I think that it is only going to increase, that speed's only going to increase as we go forward.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for coming. You know what? This is like one of those iconic fights. No, seriously. When I invited both of them, I paused and then I talked to my wife. She said, "You sure you want to have them both there?" And I didn't really think about it. I said, "Wait a second, Nike and Armour." So I started looking it up. I said, "Ooh, this might not have been a great idea, Dr. King." But and I'm asking you now, while we're on TV, we have to have you back.
Yes. Yes.
I think we need, do you agree? Don't we need a part two?
Yes, we do.
And maybe on the part two, I want to discuss that other end of internships and how we can leverage students to get into, where do they start? And you mentioned it starts at the store, but how do they get their foot in and everything else? So how do y'all feel about that? Part two? All right. I'm feeling a part two. So thank you again for coming. Thank you, Dr. Yorkshire. Thank you all. Hopefully they can stay for a couple of minutes. So if you had some one-on-one questions that you want to talk to them about, we'll have them for another. I know some of you have class at 12:30 12:30, so it's 12:09, so we'll have them stay. So please, and again, thank you for coming out. Please take some information on our next Fireside Chats going on. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.